Okay, I'm at another stage, very, very close to finished. My carved pumpkin, jack-o'-lantern, redefinition by myself through my own intuition and research and experience with my clients as a tattoo artist with more of a healing approach to tattooing, and of course my focus, as you might guess here, an obsession with sacred geometry and the healing power or potential of sacred geometry. So I decided, well, I didn't decide, I just got inspired looking at a pumpkin driving by for sale, and there's some beautiful pumpkins, and I don't know, just sort of all came to me that the history of the jack-o'-lantern might be different than what's presented now. I'm going to get into that on a separate video and go right into depth for those that are interested, and I'll post that as well. But for now, I just want to kind of, I don't know, just gloss over ideas that come to me and just sort of give an update on my jack-o'-lantern. I'll give you a little sneak preview of the effect when the light is coming through. This was the hardest part of all, was getting all this cut right through so that everything is just floating, and of course without breaking it, which was always a subtle concern. And as you can see, you get a really neat three-dimensional effect, even for the parts that haven't got the holes cut in. I'll just raise this up a bit. Well, I'll bring my light over and you can see how I've cut away everything that I can find that works and allow the other pieces to float. Now there's another thing, I've been really doing some research and intuitive thought and meditation on this, and the candle in the jack-o'-lantern, which from my take and the process and the approach that I've taken with this jack-o'-lantern, the idea is that the sacred geometry aligns and harmonizes one who's doing this meditation. And I call this, I consider this like the actual work on the jack-o'-lantern, creating it, is a meditation. So that being, or people that are doing this meditation, and it doesn't have to be just the person doing the meditation, they're doing it to go deeper into themselves. And the interesting thing about this time of year, and even more so this specific year, and I'll also go into the astrological details on that later as well, a lot of stuff for a lot of people is coming up big time. A lot of people are having a really hard time with, I don't know, whatever, stuff within themselves, issues, old habit patterns, anger, whatever. People getting sick, people dying, whatever is going on for each person. It's a difficult struggle at the moment for many. And I find that this was a phenomenal experience in meditation. And the idea is that you meditate on this while you're creating it. And when you put your candle inside, it lights up with the sacred geometry. And the idea is that it's tuning you in with your soul, your higher self, whatever you would want to call it, God, and sheds light into the corners of your world and gives you a whole new perspective on those things which one might call hardships or difficulties, or, oh gee, am I cursed, everything's going wrong, or things just seem like they're outside you rather than just psychological things on the inside. Although there is an argument on whether or not there are outside entities and beings as well. It's really hard to say what's inside and what's outside, and that is part of this time of year where the veils are the thinnest. It is believed by many cultures, Chinese, everywhere. And it's not exactly October 31st. Some places it's November 1st. Sometimes it's November 2nd. The whole Guy Fawkes November 5th kind of gets tied in with that in some ways. But anyways, I don't want to, that's for another video. So this is created, and the creation of it is part of the process. It's not just the finished product. And the idea is that I finish this, I put my candle inside and light it, and it's a meditation and an energy summoning, stirring, harmonizing, resonating to shed light on that which is the true you, or the new you, the next you that's ready to move on and shed some old patterns and old parts of themselves. And this is to help. So that sacred geometry helps with all of that harmonizing, because sometimes I find, and many will find, that you got something to work on, you got stuff stuck inside of you, but you're just stuck. And you think too hard, and it's like, oh yeah, how do I just get into my presence or my inner self, and you just get more frustrated. Well, this is a great meditation to get out of that thinking mode. Put on some good music that relaxes and mellows you, or some good meditative tapes, and work on it. Now, another thing, actually, I'm going to get more detail on it when I actually put the candle in, but interesting thing I read was about the bonfire, which kind of relates, and I'll get into that later, to having the candle inside the light. And did you know that bonfire came from bone fire? I looked this up etymologically, and bone in English, and then somehow it got confused, or someone tried to cover it up, and bon, or bon, good in French. Well, it was bone fire, and it was when people at this time of year threw all the bones into the fire. And that has all kinds of reflections and meanings and purposes. The practical side was, it was the time of harvest, whether it was plants, animals, whatever, and the bones of the animals were thrown into the bonfire. But on a symbolic level, the bones are the old. They are that's which is left behind, that which has no life in the way we think of it, left. Things to be let go of, people who have passed on, and how to put them into a new relationship with yourself, rather than being dragged through the grief and the sorrow and things. So, and this could be not necessarily a person, but an aspect of yourself or part of the world, something that you just have a hard time letting go of. So this is all about letting go, but it's really about gaining new relationship with yourself. But you can't get the new gifts until you let go of the old stuff. That's the trick. And that's hence why I designed this with the sacred geometry. It's to harmonize you with that deeper self, so that you don't have to think your way through it and get muddled in the maze, or the labyrinth. So anyways, enough of my babbling. This is almost 9 minutes now. So I'll put on another video later with a more finished piece. Oh yes, with the bone fire. What I'm thinking of doing, just to incorporate an element of that, is my dogs have old bones. I'm going to find a nice piece of bone, the type where you see the empty hollow where they've taken the marrow out of, something short about the height of a candle, and I'm going to fill that with wax and have a wick in it. So it's in my own way, a way of resonating with that aspect of letting go of the old, and also tuning in the higher level with the ancestors. And ancestors, I learned through a lot of my indigenous friends, aren't just your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and so on. It's animals and rocks and all kinds of things, part of the earth. We did evolve from plants and from algae and from, there is a link and an ancestry and a lineage to everything. We are a part of the earth, and I think that's also what we're reclaiming here. Most people, well, as a whole, is we're trying to find a better relationship with the earth and with ourselves. So I will leave on that note, and next one, hopefully I'll show my making of the candle.